Yankees fans. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family. I'm Rob. I'm here with Donald. We're still awaiting the return of Uncle Tats. He'll be back on Friday, just recovering from his much-needed time off on his vacation. But I hope we're all recovering from that late-night Yankees victory, because the Yankees done whooped some ass last night against the Seattle Mariners, kicking the living crap out of them to start their West Coast trip, and our guy Juan Soto making history in the process, becoming the sixth player to homer in every current ballpark. Also, hitting his 200th career home run, hitting his 40th home run of the season. Now he and Aaron Judge are the first Yankee duo to reach the 40 home run mark in a season since Mantle and Maris did it way back in 61. A whole lot of history being made last night. So Donald, how you feeling this morning, and how you feeling about Juan Soto in general?
I thought last night was one of our best offensive performances all year, in my opinion. We got so much, right, top to bottom. We got Oswaldo Cabrera coming in at the bottom of the order, getting a couple of hits to look good. And at the top, you had Gleyber Torres continuing to mash at the top, and then you have Soto and Judge doing Soto and Judge things. And then Wells, of course, Wells, he's been freaking great for months now. So the offense is starting to come together. This team is starting to come together. This team is low-key starting to look pretty good. Pretty damn good. I think at this stage, mid-September, we've kind of gotten hot at the right time. We've gotten hot in September. Just when we were out, they've pulled us back in, really, because they've really started making some smart calls lately. And guess what? They're starting to win again. I mean, not that we wouldn't have told them that already, but just simple moves, and they've worked. You know what I'm saying? And so, listen, Aaron Judge and Soto are history. Wells is history. It's cool. But I'll tell you what, this team is starting to get hot at the right time, starting to come together at the right time. I think at this stage, this is the best they've looked since they started the year. This is the best they've looked since June, May actually, really, if you're being honest. So that's a good sign. And if you're looking back at prior years, I can't remember a September where they've actually looked as whole as they kind of look right now. Now, again, a lot can change because you're only as hot as the next day's pitcher, etc. You know that saying is and all that, but. Listen, I was just looking at that game yesterday, and I'm as critical as any Yankee fan. You know me, but I'll tell you what, I was starting to look back and starting to look at this situation, thinking, you know what, things are starting to look kind of good. All right, it's looking all right. We've got pitching, we've got a decent relief now, and the offense is starting to come together. So, hey,
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Everything's kind of at the right moment. It's starting to click, and at the right time as well, because we're trying to win the division. We can clinch a playoff spot tonight with the victory, and next goal would be the division title. And now I think we're up by, is it 3 games, or is it might be four? It's four. Exactly. Yeah, because Baltimore just can't seem to win. So if we can put this out of reach by the time we play them, that'd be fantastic. But just keep gaining ground as much as you possibly can, or separating yourself as much as possible. And yeah, I mean, it's been brought up in the chat, and I want to say hello to everybody that's in the chat. Jared's here, Damien, Norman from Puerto Rico, good to see you. Lou, Joan bringing up Dominguez, very good point. He looked good last night, hitting his first homer. Dad's in the chat. Who else we got? We got Joe. We've got Dev. We've got FJ, NFE, my dude, Ken, my dude, CT Cards, Egyptian Magician. They were here from the start, and of course, as usual, bright and early at 9:06, an hour before we went on, is Jonathan. So good to see everybody in the chat as usual. So let's just kind of address the elephant in the room, because it was brought up after the game. Juan Soto was asked about his checklist. He wanted a homer in every ballpark. It was a goal of his. Garcia, what's going on? He said in the comment to Brian Hoke that it's a big moment for him going into free agency. Should we look too far into this? Or is it just him kind of telling us we already knew he was going to test it out. I mean, the season he's put on, they're not going to let him walk, right? They cannot let this guy walk. But are you a little bit? What did you think of the comment? I don't want to look too far into it, but I want to get your thoughts and I want to get the chat's thoughts. Are we looking too far into this? Is it just him just blowing smoke potentially, or maybe trying to stir the pot? I don't think he would do that, but what are your thoughts about that comment?
Sounded a lot like Scott Boras. To be honest, there was no need for him to actually say it. You know what I'm saying? That was the only thing that kind of surprised me a little bit. Like there was really no need for him to add that extra bit in the comment. It was kind of just he didn't need to say it. We already know he's going into free agency. He could have just said that it's a great achievement to do so, and I'm very proud, something like that. But you don't need to say it's really great as I head into free agency. Like there was really no need for him to add that extra little bit there. That's a little worrying. It's a little worrying. It means it says to me that he's going to the highest bidder. That's what he says to me. That's what it says to me.
Yeah, I like this comment here from Damien. The more telling comment was Judge saying it was great to be in the record books with Soto this year and beyond. So I'm going to listen to the captain a little bit more. I know the guy going into free agency is making his own comment, but I'm still gonna say we're gonna bring him back. I don't think there's any chance to let this guy walk. Let's see what NFE has to say. Maybe it was a message to the Yankees saying I'm ready to negotiate and get something done. I highly doubt they're going to do it with like a couple of weeks to go before October. The time to do it was the All-Star break, if we're being perfectly honest. But, hey, anything can happen. Maybe they wait till, they clinch, and they go, hey, let's get this thing over with. Let's see what CT has to say. My fear is this. Yankees will go to $55 million per year max. Mets will go 60. I don't know. Do you pay one guy $60 million? Not. I don't know.
I don't know. But here's the full comment. It's a great feeling for me. It's so many different ballparks, so many different dimensions. I just want to get all of them checked in. What a way to go into free agency with all 30 ballparks checked on my list. Yeah. I don't think that you needed to add 30 ballparks checked on my list to go into free agency. Did he really need to say that? We already know he's going into free agency. You know? What does having all 30 parks checked off his list have to do with free agency? You know? What does that have to do with the Yankees? What does that have to do with free agency? Let's be honest here. You didn't need to say it. Like if you're towing the party line and you don't want to say anything non-committal, you just focus on the Yankees' great game and his historic moment, and then you just leave it at that. I don't think he needed to say it. That's the only thing. Is it a big deal in the grand scheme of things? No, I don't think it's a big deal in the grand scheme of things. I think he's kind of playing with us a little bit, for sure. But is there really any need to say it? Probably not.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just one tiny quote. We always knew he was going to free agency, as Joan brought up earlier in the chat. He'd be a fool not to test it, because there could be a team like the Mets that says, we'll give you 60 a year. If the Yankees say, we're going to cap you at 50, and the Mets go, well, we'll give you 55, and you get to stay in New York, I think that could sway him. I'm not going to say it wouldn't, but there's always that possibility that he could go where the money takes him. And it's been brought up the Mets have a lot coming off the books. And that's the real threat. The Mets, maybe even a team like the Dodgers, somewhere out on the West Coast if he wants to go there. And I do think him homering in every ballpark does have a little bit to do with it, because it's kind of telling teams, don't matter where I play, I can hit it out. I think that's pretty important as well.
Which further proves the point that he is most focused on free agency,
Yeah. Look, he also said in that same interview that he love the fact that he said it in spring he wants to put himself into the Yankee history books. And he's
Okay.
already done that. So there is more context to just after that quote, but it's a Wednesday morning. Let's stir the pot a little bit. Let's get people going crazy here. Let's start having people's heads twist and going nuts. I don't think at the end of the day it's not that big of a deal, but it was an interesting quote that was brought up, and it's got people panicky a little bit. I don't think we should look too far into it, but hey, as CT just said, his agent is Scott Boras. You brought it up. It does sound like something Scott Boras would say. We can't
Absolutely.
forget about that. I don't believe the Yankees are going to let this guy walk. If there's one player that you do not get outbid for, you've already locked up Judge for the rest of his career. You know Cole ain't leaving. There's one more player you're keeping here for the rest of his career, and you're not going to let anybody outbid you for. It's got to be Juan Soto. He's done all this at the age of 25. We can't forget about that. It's not like he's 29 going on 30 or 30 going into like you're going to have him until he's 40 years old. I mean, you could, but you're going to get him at 25. He's not even really in his prime yet, if you
Yeah.
think about it, and that's scary. So I
Dude,
really
like,
think
there's,
he's here.
yeah, we'll talk about the free agent aspect after this. It was just more the quote. But if there's one good thing, don't forget, Aaron Judge was playing similar games when he was hitting free agency. Remember, he had that comment at what was it, like, during the home run derby or something like that? It was in the All Star break, and he said it to a reporter that he was looking forward to free agency, and then all the Yankee fans just lost their fucking minds. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, like, yeah, it's a little bit of a game to it. There is. I still think he's coming back because but it will be a case where the Yankees have to really pay up, and I think he's probably just saying that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm 25. I can hit in every single ballpark on earth. You want me? You're gonna have to pay me.
Yeah,
But
pony up the
and
money.
he's earned it. But by the way, he's going to be the future of the Yankees because Aaron Judge is in his 30s, so he's not going to be like the same Aaron Judge in 8 to 10 years time. So you sign Juan Soto to a 12-year deal or whatever. He's going to be the next future of this team because he's only 25 and he's already maybe the second best player in baseball behind Aaron Judge. So it's certainly comparable in many ways. So you got to pay it. You got to pay up. And I think the Yankees know that better than anyone. It's going to be very, very, very costly, though. Very
Yeah.
costly.
Oh, for sure. It has to be. He's generational. That's not just a word. He's literally generational.
Literally, yeah.
It's a literal term now. And Jared, yeah, Judge is 32. He's like a month older than me, I think. So, let's see. The Mets have a lot of hole. Yeah, the Mets need a ton of help, but Juan Soto helps a lot. So that's why I'm a little bit fearful of them because they have the pockets and they can sign anybody they want. But Jared brings up an interesting point that I want to get into about the pitching. Would you rather have Stroman as a starter or a reliever, even though he was a reliever last night? He did not look very good. I know he went 3 innings, but he had to throw like 60 pitches, and he was kind of laboring. This kind of proves my point about the whole let's make Luis Heel a closer thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not a guarantee that a guy can just go from being a starter, being used to being a starter, throw him into the bullpen, and he's going to automatically be fine. Luis Heel now, I think he's the only pitcher in baseball to have a certain amount of starts of like 5 innings, allowing one run or less. I think he's gone like 16 starts. He was tied with Cease, but now he's done it again. I think that's the stat. I got to look that up if anyone has it for me. I think it was from Katie Sharp, but it's not easy to transition from being a starter to the bullpen. And that's why I kept telling people, let's just stop with the Luis Heel stuff because he's been so good as a starter. Why would you want to move him to the bullpen and just automatically assume he's going to be great as a closer? He's been fantastic as a starter, and Stroman looks more comfortable in his regular routine. And I agree with that, Ken. So, yeah, Luis Heel can be the closer, the first baseman, and the catcher all at once. I don't like Stroman out of the bullpen, but I get what they're doing. It's because they have 6 starters and they're trying to get everyone a start in there. So I don't know who's going to be out of the bullpen the next turn, but I don't like Stroman out of the bullpen. Although I don't know if he's part of the playoff rotation, as Damian brings up. Would you put him in the playoff rotation right now?
Um. Well, your first question, I agree with you. I don't like him out of the bullpen. I like him as I think he's better as a starter. I think his stuff plays better as a starter. He's been doing that his whole career. Um, I think even though Cortez has pitched better, I think Cortez is more used to being out of the bullpen. Even though he didn't like it and he was very vocal about not liking it, um, his stuff actually plays pretty well out of the bullpen. I don't think Stroman's stuff plays particularly well out of the bullpen. So, um, but I know what the Yankees are doing, and I don't necessarily blame them for doing this because they're just going with who's actually the hot arm right now. You can't take Clark Schmidt out; he's been great. Luis Heel, he's Rookie of the Year candidate. He's been excellent. If not for him, then the Yankees wouldn't be in this spot. Let's be honest. You got Garrett Cole locked in. Rodon's got 15 dubs. And Nestor Cortez has outpitched Marcus Stroman. So I don't blame the Yankees for this decision making. It's not me being overly critical of the decision, but my eyebrows were raised that they did this because I think Stroman is more accomplished than Nestor Cortez and some of these other arms. So you would think that maybe if they were to do anything, they would have had Stroman start and maybe Nestor piggyback off Stroman starts. That's my personal belief. Plus, Stroman has experience in the postseason. Um, Now, his numbers aren't great in the postseason. They're not wonderful, to be fair. But he has experience, and I think that's kind of useful. I would say. So, listen, I don't think he's going to be in a postseason rotation, but I like his experience. So, listen, that's what I would do. I would kind of swap it around again. I would have Nestor Cortez piggyback off Marcus Stroman, just because I think Stroman's stuff plays better as a starter. But again, he's not pitched well, and the Yankees. I can't criticize the Yankees for this because I've been saying for months now it should be a meritocracy. Whoever's playing better needs to be playing more. So listen, I don't blame him for this decision. It's just purely my opinion that maybe Stroman looks better as a starter, but Nestor Cortez has outpitched him completely, so I don't blame the Yankees for that decision. What I'm seeing here in September is the Yankees are starting to go with the hotter guys right now, and that's great, including benching Anthony Volpe for a day. Beautiful, much deserved. Get more guys that are playing better, more playing time, like Oswaldo Cabrera. So I think that's a good thing from the Yankees' point of view. So back to your point, I understand what they're doing, but I think Stroman's a better starter.
Yeah, it's been like a decade since he's pitched out of the bullpen, or like 8 years or something like that. I didn't like it, but I get what they were doing, and they're gonna keep doing this the rest of the way. There's only a couple of weeks left, so maybe next time it's Nestor again, and then they figure it out based off of who they're playing. Yeah, Nestor does start tonight, but Damien says Nestor has more experience lately. It's been years since Stroman was in the playoffs. That is true, because Nestor did start in 2022, and he wasn't terrible. He was okay against Cleveland, but I wouldn't say he was very good. The experience is there, though. Obviously, we just need to figure out who's starting Game 3, because we know who's going 1 and 2. That there's no question who's going Game 1, and there's no question who's going Game 2. It's just figuring out Game 3, and that could be Nestor if we're at home, but considering where we are in the with the standings, I don't think we're going to be playing a Game 3 at home, so that could be Luis Heel who gets Game 3. There's a lot to figure out if you're Aaron Boone, so could even be Clark Schmidt with the way he's pitched. He's looked really good since coming off the IL. So there's a lot to figure out, so I get what they're doing. Stroman, you're paying the dude $18.5 million.
Yeah.
I don't like him coming out of the bullpen for 3 innings. He didn't look good. I know he gave up only 1 run, but it could have been worse. I just don't like him out of the bullpen. That's just my whole thing. When I saw him
I don't
pitching,
think
I
he
was
has
like,
the stuff for it. I
yeah,
think his stuff is better as a starter because he's got a bunch of pitches that he can mix in as the innings go on to keep guys off balance. He's not a guy that's going to blow you away with
right.
a fastball slider combo, a fastball changeup combo, something like that. He doesn't really have something that's going to keep on a short basis like that. At least Nestor's stuff, he can kind of mix and match a little bit out of the bullpen. But if you look purely at the stats, Nestor Cortez is a 2.2 WAR and a 3.90 ERA. Marcus Stroman's WAR is just 1.3 and a 4.04 ERA. So if you look at really the stats, it says Nestor Cortez, and I can't necessarily blame him for the decision.
Right. Again, we'll see what they do by the time we get to the playoffs, but they got to clinch that spot first, and hopefully it is tonight. They can get that over with and then focus on the division. But another topic to bring up is Rookie of the Year. It could be a Yankee. It could be between two different Yankees. Last night's starter and his battery mate. Luis Heel and Austin Wells are both making a serious play for Rookie of the Year. Austin Wells had a bases clearing double last night, and he continues to have a fantastic season. And Luis Heel, outside of a couple of rough outings he had, has been one of the better rookie pitchers in baseball. It looked like for a while, what's up, Brazil? And John, don't worry about it. So, and we're always glad to see you in the chat. So, work calls, I understand it, but thank you for popping in.
Salute.
Is it Luis Heel versus Austin Wells? Who would you prefer gets it? I know who the Yankees would rather get it because they'd get that extra pick if it's Wells, but who do you think deserves it more if it comes between those two?
Well, that's a tough question. that's like, that's impossible to actually say because I think it would be unfair on the other person. But we can break it down together and then we can come to a consensus. So how about we do that? So we'll look at Luis Heel's numbers, right? 3.6 WAR, 14-6 with a 3.14 ERA, 161 strikeouts, over 140 innings pitched. That WAR is pretty beautiful. 3.6. ERA is right there. Beautiful ERA. Just great numbers, man. Just freaking wonderful. And outside the numbers, if you look at what he did for our rotation, I can't speak enough for what he did, especially the first half of the year where we didn't have Garrett Cole. We had Rodon, who looked very inconsistent. At times he looked like ass prior to the All-Star break. And we had Stroman, who was pitching okay. He's a first half pitcher. He always has been. And then we had Nestor Cortez, who was terrible. He was absolutely terrible first half of the year. And then Schmidt was great, but then he went down. And then you had Clay Holmes, who was desperate to blow everything within his sights, within his grasp. So Luis Heel had a lot of pressure on him, man. He was basically the stopper. He was the ace, and he was also a kid who was just trying to figure it out. So he was doing all this stuff under immense pressure, and he's just been amazing, absolutely amazing. Plus, he was hurt all last year, so that's when you look at that. What he did for a rotation, you could say he's been most important, considering because we would never be where we are right now. 4 games ahead, basically got the East tied up. If it wasn't for Luis Heel. So there's that, right? But then you look at Austin Wells. And Austin Wells, if you're looking at recency bias, Austin Wells is the winner, in my opinion. Like, he's got a 2.8 WAR, okay? Now, I think WAR does play a part in it, because I think people are going to be looking at these things. So his WAR is 2.8. But you got 53 RBIs, which, if you put it in context, as he was basically being a platoon. In fact, he was a backup for first half of the year. So to have 53 RBIs at this stage is actually really good, because if he was actually your everyday catcher, he'd be up in the 70s, 80s, easy, without even a question. OPS 758, it's really good. Slug 425, it's amazing. OPS 113. OPS plus 113, so it's 100 is what you're looking at. He's got 113. So, and then again, outside the stats, what he's done for the batting order can't be underestimated. I mean, this guy has been Aaron Judge. He's kind of been Aaron Judge's protection. He's saved the day in many ways because people were pitching around Aaron Judge. So we needed a cleanup hitter. And up steps Austin Wells, and he's been electric. And then outside of that, his catching has been amazing. His pitch framing has been right there, only behind Trevino and a handful of others in all of baseball. He's been right there. He's a really good pitch framer, really good at calling games. I think he's better at Trevino at calling games. And I think he's been better overall defensively than Trevino, which Trevino is a premium glove catcher, but I think he's actually outplayed him, especially offensively, but defensively as well in many ways. And got a better arm too. Plus, he's kind of got that energy that this team is desperately needed post All-Star break. So, you compare the two, and any one's the right answer. So, Rob, I've broken that down for you. Which way would you go with that?
Well, trying to sift through the for some reason we got people talking about our terrible football giants in the
Yeah,
chat,
I don't
but
know. I don't know why we're going there, but we'll focus on this first, and then
yeah,
we're
we're
gonna go after that.
trying to get to the comments about the baseball here. Ken brings up a good point. Comparing Heal's numbers versus other rookie pitchers, Paul Skeens is the only one whose numbers are better than Heal. Paul Skeens is gonna win NL Rookie of the Year, most likely. Jackson Merrill's another option. I saw another comment about who the other team's guys are. I think Colton Cowser might be the favorite right now, but quickly that could change. And Willie Abreu from Boston's another guy that a lot of people are bringing up. So FJ asked that question earlier. If I had to pick between those two, I'd probably go with Austin Wells because of how quickly he's put himself onto the map. I mean, like you said earlier, he was platooned. He was basically benched. So the fact that he took that starting role and now he's pretty close to Cowser in terms of offensive numbers. Yeah, and Jackson Chirier, that's another name, Joan. Thank you for that in the NL. Um, I guess it's Wells simply because of how quickly he's put those numbers up because it like fast like he was slumping and all of a sudden now he's 13 homers 14 homers 50 some odd RBIs a 750 plus OPS. Those are all really good numbers, so I guess I gotta go Wells, but I like you said earlier it does feel unfair to pick one because Luis Heel did save this rotation for a while. Yes, NFE they are. They're gonna it's gonna stay there until that certain someone sees it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna pick Austin Wells, and it hurts because Heel has done it for the entire season. But I think they're gonna look at offense more than anything because everyone else in contention is an offensive player, so that could lean the edge towards the pitcher since he's the only real rookie pitcher.
I've got Colton Cowser, and Willier Abreu stats, so we can use that as a source of comparison. So Colton Cowser, his WAR is just 2.4. It's actually below both our guys. 761 OPS, so similar to Wells, basically the same. OPS plus of 119. Wells is 113, so again, it's basically the same. 62 RBI is very similar, but he's played more than Wells. So in my opinion, Wells is much better than Colin Cowser. So we'll close that off. In my opinion, I don't think Cowser should win over Wells. But then Willier Abreu, and that's my worry here. OPS is 811. Uh, uh, my man Wells is like 750s. So Willier Abreu wins with that. OPS plus 122, much better than 113. Slug 482 is better slug, and his WAR is better as well. Wins above
Yeah,
replacement for anyone who doesn't know what WAR is.
he's
Yeah, I
kicked
think
our ass a few times.
if you're looking at that, you probably have Willier Abreu ahead because if you're thinking about what the voters are going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at all these numbers that I just read out: wins above replacement, slug, OPS plus, OPS, and all that stuff. And for me, Willie Abreu is across the board better than Wells in these metrics. So if it's going to come down to Rookie of the Year, he might be favorite right now. But the other side of the coin, Luis Gil, his WAR is better than Willie Abreu's. So Luis Gil could be the Rookie of the Year for me. I'm actually going to give it to Luis Gil, but Austin Wells is my guy, and I absolutely adore this dude. But Luis Gil's WAR is 3.6. His ERA is 3.14. That's elite. So for me, I think Luis Gil should be Rookie of the Year.
The good thing is there's no wrong answer because they're both
No.
good. So if it does come down to a Yankee, if either one of those two win it, we're going to be happy for him.
We all know who Altuve's going to get MVP, Rookie of the Year. You'll get Comeback Player of the Year. You'll get frickin' yeah.
I'm still mad about that. That pisses me off. The whole 2017 thing, I'm over them cheating because it is what it is. The fact that they robbed Aaron Judge of an MVP that year, I will forever be salty about that. Because this should be his third MVP coming up this year.
Oh, easy.
That I will never let that go. The cheating thing, it is whatever. But they stole one from Judge. So yeah, I mean,
Dude, I've still not recovered from Jeter getting his MVP stolen from him.
right.
Wasn't it Mauer?
Was it Mauer or was it Morneau? Did Morneau take one from
Morneau.
Cano?
Yeah, frickin' Twins. None of his numbers were even like a quarter of as good as Derek Jeter's that year.
Yeah. And Damian, you're right. I think the Yankees would prefer that Wells won it because they get that pick. The whole PPI stuff. If Wells does win it, being a top 100 prospect, they would get a pick. That's why they're so focused on keeping that rookie status for Dominguez. So that's what teams are doing to keep that rookie status for players. It's the incentive to call up your top 100 guys, or if you have a guy in the top 100. The Yankees would prefer Wells, but I think a lot of the fans would prefer either or. But I don't know. I guess Wells it would be the most likely to get it if they go with the hitter. But you're right about Heel. Those numbers are elite.
Insane numbers, man. And every time that we write him off, well, not we, but like people write him off. Oh, send him to the bullpen. He's tired. He's done. He looks exhausted. Next start, he's pitching a shutout. That's what I'm saying is like he's had to overcome a lot because everybody's been expecting like the penny to drop a little bit, but it never has with Luis Gil. He's had bad starts, so's everyone. So's Garrett Cole, but he comes back the next start and he's great. And he wasn't even that good yesterday, but he made the big pitches when it counts, and that's a great sign. For me, a sign of how good a pitcher is not when you have your best stuff, because everyone's going to have days when they got their best stuff and they're going to mow everyone down. It's what you do when you have your worst stuff. And David Cohn has always said that very similarly. That's why I believe that he should be a pitching coach at some point. For the Yankees, that would be good. But what do you do when you don't have your great best stuff? How do you get outs? Can you get outs? Can you keep your team in the game? Can you get the dub that particular night? That's a sign of a good pitcher. That's what I saw yesterday because he didn't pitch particularly well. He loaded the bases on an occasion. He was struggling to throw strikes, but he made the pitches when it counted, and he got through it, and almost relatively completely unscathed. So that's a sign of a very special pitcher.
He did get some help with them trying to steal home, but I don't know what the hell is going on with this feet talk. And did Altuve show his foot? God, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We got Daniel Jones. Now we got feet.
What is going on in this chat today? This is usually a Monday morning thing. Today's Wednesday, guys. What are we talking about? I don't.
I woke up at the Giants podcast today. Like, Like,
Let's let's not talk
listen, I
about
know that
feet.
Daniel Jones smells like nasty feet, but we're not talking about Daniel Jones. I don't care. Man. I want to think about Daniel Jones. You know how miserable Daniel Jones makes me? For the past 6 years, he's made me nothing but completely and utterly miserable and makes me hate
Be 5.
waking up as a Giant fan and hate having to watch them every Sunday for 4 hours and be miserable and bored watching that shitty football. So this Yankee team is the only thing I have, along with the Knicks, as an escape from the putrid, disgusting desperation of awfulness that the New York Giants are. So let's not talk about the New York fucking Giants. Let's talk about the Yankees.
Yes, let's do that because David brings up a good point. Last night, the Seattle announcers were talking up Judge for the Triple Crown and MVP. He almost had it 2 years ago. I think he lost it to Yandy Diaz. Um, do we see him getting it this year? Because no one's catching him in home runs, at least at this point. I don't see that happening. But I got to see where he is in terms of batting average. I know he's close, but I mean, is it possible he's about 8 points behind Bobby Witt? I don't know if Bobby Witt's going to give
I'll
that
get
up.
the Triple Crown, but who
Yeah.
cares, man? If he can get 57 to 60 home runs and a 320 batting average, he's the MVP. What? Yeah, let's get to talking about last night because there's a lot of great things to see. Um, let's start with Aaron Judge just being Captain Clutch. Rob.
He's the best player in baseball, and I've been saying it even when he was struggling, and there were people trying to talk him down and take away his captaincy and say this nonsense about him. He's the best player in the world, as far as I'm concerned, and we're lucky to have him. He continues to do it. He gave the league a 20-plus game head start, and then he got ejected and said, "Okay, fuck you all. I gave you a chance. What's up, Alex?"
Hey, Alex.
Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. And even if he's not hitting home runs, he's finding ways to get it done with doubles and starting rallies, finishing rallies. He's the best player in the world. Even if he doesn't get 60 again, who cares? It's his third 50 home run season already. I mean, are we going to care if he doesn't break his own record? And he's got his own record. He's going to win MVP again this year. He's going to have his second, as far as I'm concerned, his third MVP already. He's the best player in baseball. He continues to be amazing, and I'm just hoping that he can finally put to rest those stupid October talks about him because they always say he's terrible in October, even though his numbers are not the worst when it comes to the postseason. And yeah, I'm glad Otani's in the NL too because there should be no discussion. Otani's going to win the NL MVP probably every year, but
They would have given him the AL MVP as well. If he was in the AL, he'll go into
of course.
50-50. It's, you know how it is.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's in the NL. So now we can have Judge and Otani probably winning MVP almost every year together. It's always going to be those two. Who would you take? I mean, obviously I'm going to pick my Yankee before I pick anybody else. I'm going to pick Aaron Judge, but I don't want to make this a Judge versus Otani thing because that dude is insane. And when he starts to pitch again, it's hard to take an MVP away from him. That dude's nuts.
It's great. Imagine having a 50-50 year and then being a starter.
Exactly. Like a lot of people want to make this conversation like, "Oh, Judge is so much better than Otani." Is he? Like, I think he's the best player in baseball, but Shohei Otani is like he's theater. You want to watch this guy play. You want to watch Judge play, but when Otani starts to pitch, it's watchable baseball. No matter who he's playing, the dude is nuts. So I agree with John.
We're not a Verlander podcast, so we don't care about Otani. So.
Right.
Let's move on. Juan Soto went Oppo, obviously, as always. Just he's the best. What about Dominguez? First home run of the year, my man, Jason. Not like he shouldn't have been called up much earlier, but that's for another day. Dominguez is off the mark. Big shot.
Yeah, it's glad I was glad to see him finally get the first one out of the way because it was only a matter of time before fans started to yap about maybe they shouldn't have called him up and all this nonsense. So Yeah, this word called patience. He is Alex because he was on the 40 man, so he is eligible for the postseason roster. Do I think he makes it? That's a different conversation. But
Oh, he has to, surely.
I mean, we'll see because his numbers outside of the home run yesterday haven't been very good, and it seems like they still trust Verdugo more than him. I don't know. Egyptians, if they, I'm assuming he means if they bench him today, he will cry. Don't put it past the Yankees to bench him after hitting a home run. They've kind of already turned him into a platoon player, so do
Oh,
not
they
be
have.
surprised.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
see what it. Oh, Spencer's got a question for us here.
They've
Oh,
also
he's
turned Stanton into a platoon player. Let's not forget that.
yeah. What's about that? Like your third best hitter, he's a platoon guy. You guys realize between Soto, Stanton, and Judge, they have 940 career home runs between them. Yeah, that's like your postseason 2, 3, 4, or at least 2, 3, and 5 in the playoffs, and those are the guys you're going to look to mash. And now you have a red hot Gleyber Torres leading off, setting the table. Wells in the middle of Judge and Stanton. That postseason lineup could be very, very good. They need a good first baseman though. I'm hoping that Rizzo can just have one good playoff run in him, one more good playoff run in him, because he's looking bad again. He looked good for like the first week, maybe week or half a week when he came off the IL, but his bat is going back to concussion Rizzo. And I don't like it. His at bats have been pretty bad.
Well, luckily his defense has been great. He had a
Yeah.
phenomenal scoop yesterday. And to be honest, that's all I care about. We've got the offense. We don't need Rizzo's offense. If we whatever he gives you is fine. It's his defense, which is absolutely vital, considering our infield defense is all over the place. Um, he's really important. Although, and to be fair, our infield defense has been a little bit better lately. Torres is making some nice plays, especially in his backhand side. He's making some nice plays, showing a little bit of range there. Volpe has no arm, but he's a freaking amazing range at shortstop, like freaking crazy. And then you've got Chisholm, who's been great. A lot of errors and stuff, but he's still figuring it out. But he's been very natural there at third. It's almost like he's played it for a long, long time. So the infield's trying to come together, and a lot of it is because Rizzo's there, and there's just that kind of solid presence where we weren't really having it because DJ LeMahieu stopped knowing how to play first base somehow. And Ben Rice is still figuring it out because he's a catcher naturally. So we didn't really have a great situation at first, and Rizzo is kind of solidified things. But his bat is just what it is, man. I don't even think it's not even it's not even concussion Rizzo. It's just Rizzo. The dude's old, man. He's old, and he's been out of the game a long time. And when you don't have that bat speed anymore, and you're on the wrong side of 30, this is what happens. It's natural, Father Time is undefeated, so the only thing I worry about is his defense. As long as he makes his scoops, makes his plays, then this team's going to be absolutely fine. But they can't really afford too many zero bats. So if they keep going out there with Rizzo and Anthony Volpe, and maybe even Verdugo, and then they sit Wells and they play Trevino, then this team's not going to hit. Right. So that's something to pay attention to. But that's why I was really heartened to see that Oswaldo Cabrera got an at-bat got a couple at-bats over Volpe yesterday. It's kind of nice to see. Just a little bit more meritocracy. Give Volpe a seat. He's not immune to it. I like that.
I still think they should give Cabrera a little bit of a look at, even at third, if they want to put Jazz in center field from time to time, if they wanted to. Or put Cabrera at first if they want to give Rizzo a day. I just think it's interesting that they were playing so well, and then DJ came back and they started to struggle. And then DJ's gone, now they're playing well again. I don't know, maybe he's the curse. Maybe all it took was getting rid of DJ LeMahieu off this team, because the double plays have stopped a little bit. That's the one thing I do know. The ground balls have kind of gone away, but
because he's asked. That's it.
They do need. I'm not saying I need Rizzo to be like a 500 hitter or anything. I just need his at bats to be better because he would lengthen out the lineup. Because, like you said, if Verdugo's starting in the postseason and they will play Trevino for certain pitchers, they will play him. You kind of have two duds in the lineup. You can't really have the back end
And Volpe, don't
and
forget.
Volpe, who can't hit right now at all. So you really can't have 4 out of your 9 be absolute zeros at the bottom of
Yeah.
your order. So if Rizzo's hitting, you're putting yourself in a really good spot.
I completely agree with that. That's the only thing that worries me about Rizzo not necessarily hitting. But when you get games like that, kind of shows that this team is starting to look kind of whole. And I've not seen them in this kind of position in a long time. So there's something to be positive about for sure.
Hey, hopefully they keep it going because Spencer brings up earlier. He said the Yankees may not celebrate. Oh, they will. Aaron Boone already said they have 2 separate celebrations planned for clinching the playoffs and the division. I don't know why you have 2. Just wait for the division title. You know you're making the
Oh,
playoffs. You know
call
you're
me the
making the
old man on the
playoffs.
lawn, but I don't like that.
You can celebrate winning the division, but not, the playoff
Fact.
clinching. Yeah, I don't. I don't know. I don't like
Playoff
that too much.
clinching, that's shake hands, hug,
Checklist number 1. Yeah,
checklist number one. Win the division, fucking party if all you want. I don't give a fuck. But do not celebrate making the playoffs because the playoffs are, that should be the standard with the Yankees. That's the standard, is the minimum, bare minimum. So that's just a shake hands, good job, give each other a hug, great job, guys. Let's win this division now, then we can celebrate. Uh, but again, that's what I've been saying about Aaron Boone. He's he's a different cat. He really is. He's all about fucking uh, sunshine and rainbows, and bubbles.
maybe they sit around the locker room and share their feelings about making the postseason. I don't know. I don't want to see a big celebration for that because you're supposed to. With the team you have, that should be the bare minimum is making the playoffs. Celebrate the division. Celebrate winning a playoff series. But making the playoffs, shake some hands. Maybe you have a couple of drinks, whatever. But I don't want to see them popping bottles and acting like they just did something crazy good because you're supposed to make the postseason. But we know that's not going to be the case because Aaron Boone already said they got 2 separate
I don't like
celebrations.
that. I really don't like that.
And maybe the other one is a little tame, and the division title one's going to be big because they got to win it still. They got to win it. Baltimore can catch fire, even though they haven't done it yet, but that's still a very good team. We've got roughly 10 minutes left in the show. We still have a couple of more games in this series. Obviously, Friday will be the award show for it, but a win tonight clinches that playoff berth, and we could potentially see that celebration that Aaron Boone is talking about. So let's talk about the matchup tonight. Nestor Cortez versus Bryce Miller. Another righty, thankfully. We don't have to worry about left-handed pitching. Miller's got a 3.12 ERA and 158 strikeouts with a .99 whip.
Yikes.
We got to Woo last night. Can we do it 2 nights in a row against another really good pitcher?
All I'm going to say is yikes. Those numbers are yikes. That's fucking great. Who's matching up with him?
Nestor Cortez, who is coming off some decent outings, both out of the bullpen and rotation. His ERA's down to 3.9, but a whip of 1.15. So,
Listen, the matchup isn't in our favor, but anything can happen. The Yankees are in a hot streak right now, and that's the case. Did I see the Yankees beating the Royals? No. Did I see the Yankees making mincemeat out of Boston 3 out of 4? The way we were playing through the summer? No. So this thing is turned around fast. And I don't quite know what to make of it, but it looks like this team is getting whole, and it looks like it's getting dangerous at the right time. So really, there's not a matchup that particularly worries me. We can beat the Mariners. Mariners don't have an offense. They've got pitching, but they don't have an offense. So if the Yankees put a couple of runs on the board, then they can feel pretty good about themselves. And when you got Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who by accident can hit a 400 fucking foot shot, then you know what I'm saying? We're in a pretty good shot. So yeah, I mean, I'm confident right now. I think this team is going to win the division fairly comfortably. I mean, you're not going to blow a 4-game lead with like 11 games left. unless we get swept when we face the Orioles, it's not going to happen. So I think the Yankees are in pretty damn good shape. So just that's why I don't want us to get sidetracked by silly celebrations. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, old man on the lawn, but the previous Yankees don't celebrate making the postseason. You celebrate winning the division. You celebrate winning the division series. You celebrate winning the CS World Series. There's so many celebrations ahead of you. Let's not overdo it on needless ones. I mean, if you didn't make the postseason with a Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, then everyone should be sent to the gulag. So let's be honest. So let's not get overly excited.
Yeah, like Rizio says, one step at a time. I don't want to put any guarantees on anything because, like Medina says, crazier things have happened. But Damian brings up a good point. We have owned Miller so far in his career. Hopefully, we continue to do it. Get this out of the way and just get the playoff clinching game out of the way and then focus on the division. Because the further away we are from Baltimore by the time we play them, the better. Because anything can happen. The Orioles have been very good against us this year. We were a Clay Holmes blown save away from being 500, but we can't forget they have kicked the living shit out of us on multiple occasions this season already. So I don't want to be their get right series. So I would rather it be done with, and maybe we just need like one win against them to clinch it. I don't want the Yankees to be the get right series for Baltimore because that seems to happen a lot where we're a get right series for a team that's still in contention. Luckily for us, we've been very good. It's the Yankees and Cleveland that have winning records against 500 or better teams this year in the American League. That's it. So hopefully we can keep that going.
What would you? Let's talk a little bit before we finish off. I think Alex Cora is not going to get any punishment for basically saying that he's targeting Aaron Judge. But I quite liked Aaron Boone's response. Did you get a hold of Aaron Boone's response?
No, but if you can tell me what that was, that'd be great. I did
He
not know he
says
was investigated.
he says that he's putting the Red Sox in his rear view mirror. He goes, chances are we're not going to play them anymore this year. That's a low key little hit there right there. We've got too much important things going on in front of us to really get caught up in that. You kind of shut it down. It's kind of that's as close to a mic drop as it gets for an Aaron Boone. You know, because he's such a friendly guy, our friendly hate neighborhood Booney. But to be honest, just saying something like chances are we're not gonna face them again this year that's a little bit of a you know what I'm saying? So I'll give him a little bit of credit for that. But Cora of course is not gonna get any punishment. You kidding me? I mean, Manfred doesn't punish anybody for anything. Unless you say something about the Astros, you don't get punishment. Unless it's that, right? Unless you put on your shoelaces that an image of a trash can, you're not going to get any punishment. So, I mean, the Astros could do whatever the hell they want. You know, say things like, "Oh, I'm going to target Aaron Judge and all that shit." Fine, no problem. So I'm not surprised, and I'm not overly pissed at it. I don't care. I really don't care, and that's why Aaron Boone's response was pretty good.
Yeah, I think the Yankees handled that really well, actually. Judge's response was just don't miss if you're going to do it. And he showed why because he hit one 450 feet to dead center. And Aaron Boone kind of. One thing about Boone is that he's not afraid to talk some shit when he needs to. It's one thing I noticed about him. He's very like happy-go-lucky when it comes to his clubhouse, but when he's going after other teams, he's kind of held his own from time to time. So he has shown some balls in this case, throwing a little bit of shade at the Red Sox, kind of like we put you in the rear view.
Yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
you guys, it was us. We did that to you. So
that's the fact.
I did like. I'm glad you told me that. That's actually one of the few times I can really get behind an Aaron Boone quote because
I know
I like that. That's what you want to hear from the Yankee manager. He just kind of threw some serious shade at the Red Sox, but did it kind of like, you're yesterday's news. We're focused on bigger and better things. Come on. You know how much that's got to be deflating to hear for a Red Sox fan, to hear the Yankee managers being like, "You're nothing to me. We ended you." So, hey,
Look, basically saying you're completely irrelevant right now. For the rest of the season, you're irrelevant. Whatever you want, you're irrelevant. We put you in the rearview mirror. We finished you off. You can dream about targeting Aaron Judge all you want, but you're never going to see him again because we've got bigger and better things to worry about. You guys just have to worry about 500. I mean, that's pretty cool. As I say, listen, we're a fair podcast. Whenever Aaron Boone does something stupid, we're going to say it. But if Aaron Boone does something cool, I'll give him some semi props, and I think he deserves some props for that.
Might get an extra point added to his score for the awards. And Pizza Minetti, that's very Italian. His quote reminded me of the Rays quotes last year about the Yankees not mattering in September. Yeah, remember how mad we were about that? Basically, the Rays were saying, hey, one team's fighting for a playoff spot, the other team's fighting to stay above 500, I think they were talking about. They trashed us. Dropping his nuts. We've got some strange stuff. P. Diddy was in the chat earlier.
Yeah, he's won some lotion.
He's asking for some baby oil.
Anyone, please do not give him any baby oil.
How'd you get a phone in a jail cell, Diddy?
You'll get plenty in jail. You'll get
access to YouTube. But it has been an interesting day, an interesting chat, and hopefully we have
some Daniel Jones talk all about. I just want to know how that came about.
I'm blaming Jared for it, actually. Usually, most of these crazy things happen because of Jared. So if he's still here, I'm blaming him. But I did see CT Cards getting involved as well, so I'm blaming both of you for bringing up football. And then, naturally, P. Diddy sneaks his way into the chat. So, and then to talk about feet, a very strange day here on the Pinstripe Chronicles. But that is going...
Nasty-ass feet.
Yeah. No one wants to hear about that. But that is going to wrap it up for us here today on this fine Wednesday afternoon. There's another Yankee game tonight. Hopefully we can clinch that playoff berth and continue our trek to a division title. So, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so when we do go live next, which will be Friday morning, hopefully with Uncle Tats back in tow, we will be doing our awards to break down this full Seattle series for you guys, and we hope to see you all there. Once again, this is the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family. We will see you all. Hit that sub button, hit that like button, do all the good stuff like I just said, and we will see you all next time. Wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.